Our kids rarely go to fields today. They don't have playgrounds. One, or they are all on video games or on their phones. That is one. Two, second is sugar.
Yeah.
I think processed food and sugar is what is killing us.
True.
And the earlier we realized that, the better we become. Every third person is now classified as obese in India. And this was not there earlier. We used to work hard, we used to play hard, we used to eat the right food.
Salam, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Adab. I have my very dear friend. Oftentimes, I call him my dearest brother, Dr. Ajay Yadav. He is the Vice Chairman for Vascular and Endovascular Sciences at Sir Gangaram Hospital. I've known him for 7 years now. One of the kindest and the most amazing human being you will ever meet. Today's episode is all about health, our own wellness. This can range from people who are 16, but largely anyone above 35. We're going to talk about the effects of COVID, what's really happening to our society, why are we today known as the diabetic capital of the world. Let's just kind of find some answers, and hopefully you will learn from them, internalize them, and practice them in your daily life. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Kunal.
Now, seriously, Ajay, you are an absolutely adorable dear friend and a brother to me.
Same here, Kunal, and I'm really happy to be with you here once again.
Before I begin, I have seen many doctors. Here you have reached, wherever you have reached. I know you're. How are you so humble?
I think it's probably right parents. They told or showed us the way of life. And I think we sort of built up on that. My dad was in Air Force. Mom was a teacher. And we've seen their life, the way they lived their life. Our grandparents, we belong to my grandparent was a farmer and in Delhi. And we've seen their struggles. We've seen them grow as humble beings, as humble human beings, caring about others. And I think sort of imbibed that energy from them, and sort of that's what we sort of continued with. Let's put it this way.
But there is also a very stereotypical image of a doctor out there, especially when you are a surgeon and when you're a renowned surgeon, right? As in, maybe you know few and I may know a few, but they are completely opposite to the kind of person you are, right? I'm not sure it's because of the mastery of the skill, the way they are, but let me just put it this way, they are not humble. And I'm sure they come also from a similar background, but
it's just a way of life, I would put it this way. At some stage, you tend to realize that everybody is struggling with their life. And the patient who comes to you is the one who is actually suffering. And everybody's stressed out in a different way. And the day you start realizing that you're in the same boat, you're struggling in your own way, he's struggling in his own way. And the only way we can make him better is being nice to him and being humble towards him. He's just another human being who could be your brother, who could be your family, who could be any other person. The kinder you are to him, the kinder the world's going to be to you.
But I'm kind of intrigued about your early influences in your childhood. Take us through that journey.
My father, I think, if you truly speak, I think my father was my major influence. He was an Air Force officer, very intelligent man, very hardworking. As I told you, we belong to a very farmer, village family.
Modest background.
Very, very modest. Father-in-law. My grandfather was farmer in Delhi, and so my dad had seen the struggles of farming, and then he went on to become an Air Force officer, a very, very respected person in his field, in his village, and that really changed me, because I realized that if you come from a very poor background, that doesn't mean that you need to be bitter to others. It just means that you've gone through the whole loop. A better human being, you need to control yourself, you need to sort of learn from others' life. And he's always been very nice to everyone he's met, and people unfortunately know more, but every time I meet one of any of his friends, anyone from his generation, they always speak very, very nicely of him, and that brings pride to me, because that's the kind of human being I want to be.
And he created that lasting impact in you. That values is something that you carry.
That legacy, that for us, his legacy was his humble nature, he's super intelligent and very hardworking. I think this is what he told me, the true value of being a good human being.
And was your schooling in Delhi?
Who's
yours?
Yes, I was Air Force school.
Oh, you were in the Air Force school. Fantastic. Did you know in your early childhood that you wanted to be a doctor, or medicine was something that intrigued you?
I was always good at science, so I at one stage actually wanted to be an engineer.
Okay.
And was very keen to join one of the IITs or something and become an engineer. But somehow something clicked in 12th, and I think it probably could have sort of been one of our uncles getting really sick during that time, which sort of got me interested in health and all. But my Nana was a retired IAS officer, so he's always been after do you want to go into medicine? And I think one of those things sort of changed my direction a bit. But fortunately, I'm in the best of both worlds, because I'm a vascular surgeon, so I'm an official plumber of the body. So I do my bit of engineering there. So I'm into stents, balloons, bypasses, and as well as the best part of his medicine is.
So you do both mechanical and electrical.
An electrical part of the body, and the best of medicines as well.
So this was something after 12th you knew, right?
Yes.
But did you have any influences of any doctors in the family? How does this profession even really pans out?
I did not have any very close doctor friends or doctor family, but there were certain people who really changed me during my surgical training as well as my vascular surgery training. One is my boss, my guide during my MS training was Professor Ravikant. He told me or showed me how a surgeon should be: a man of substance, man of flair, man of knowledge, people who genuinely care about their patients. A surgeon would always be awake. The one thing he hears about the patient who is needing you. And this is very different from others, because a surgeon finds peace when he's operating, and he's at his best when he's operating. And this is something which was new to me, and he sort of imbibed that thing to me. And then there was my other boss in my vascular surgery training in England, Dr. Simon Smith, who taught me the art of surgery. Now, surgery is an art. It can't be read and then mastered. It needs to be seen, it needs to be proctored, it needs to be sort of, it's in, if you put it rightly, you need to have a teacher who teaches you, mentors you, and then you sort of learn, and he keeps correcting you till you become a master yourself. And this is how he taught me, from basic needle holding and to how do you take sutures perfectly, how do you improve your ergonomics. So it's just a combination of all these guys who sort of changed me or made me what I am today.
And especially in your field, especially in surgery, right? It's just constant learning and evolution. Right?
Yes,
because everything is changing faster. Maybe diseases are getting more complex. And on the other side, diagnostics are getting better, prognostics are getting better, surgeries with machines are kind of getting better, but at the end of the day, it's still a human being behind the drive of all this, right? So it's that constant reading and constant arguing your cases all over the world.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It definitely is, because
It's a tough life, Ajay. It's a very tough life. And it just doesn't end.
Fortunately, once you get into the groove, it is actually not that tough, because you know you have to read, you know you have to interact, you have to learn new techniques every few years. The technology comes and goes, or it keeps improving. Now, there are two kinds of technologies changes which happen. One is iterative. So you basically sort of evolving with time. If you got a stent, you got a better stent. If you got a better stent, the deployment remains the same. But then there are revolutionary, like the robotic surgery which came in, or the stent grafts which came in for aneurysms. Completely changed the ball game. You suddenly find that you can't go back to your previous surgeries, and this is the new way forward, and this is probably the most acceptable way forward.
And in your profession, again, the doctors and the surgeons who evolve or are quicker are the ones who are ahead, and there are laggards perhaps who kind of pick up and maybe 5-7 years later get exposed to such both iterative as well as the other aspect.
The revolutionary part.
The revolutionary part. Right.
And I think this is what makes or breaks.
Yeah.
The robotic surgery which has come in, the more stent grafts which are coming.
How does a common man even know? How do you discern this? How does he know? Because for him, and this is just a very common, I'm not sure around the world, I can only talk as a consumer. You go with the disease, you get cured, Dr. Bhagwan hai.
Fair enough.
Right? Because your life is completely at the hands of a doctor, nurse, doctor, everybody in the value chain. Right? So Dr. Bhagwan, right? Doctor ne keh diya to keh diya.
Absolutely.
Right? But how does one know that, this doctor is both revolutionary and has been iterative, and the other is not, because it's a trust. It's nothing but trust.
I 100% agree, because at the end of the day, the trust heals the patient. It's not the machines or the technology. It's always the trust. And it's the surgeons or the doctor's experience which tells this is the right patient for this case. There's so many patients who come to me who have, and something like DVT, who come to me and say, "Ki mujhe IVC filter chahiye," or this is what has been recommended. And I said, please don't get it done. You don't need anything. Just go home, take medicines, and you should be fine. And they do become better. But at the same time, there are other patients who will say, we need to do this because this is something which is going to save your life. And I think this is just about experience. And at the same time, being genuine to your patients. So there are certain cases which, if one of my friends would do better or is better experienced at, I would be very happy to send it to him, because I know this is the better technique for you to do. Please get it done from my friend, because he's the right man to do it.
So Chanel, the older one, who one day she asked me this question. Obviously, she was talking to someone, a doctor only, and she said, "Why is it that everyone says that's the best doc, that's the best cardiosurgeon, right? That's the best, maybe orthopedic?" I said, "Bache, if someone has gone to him and he's healed, for him he is the best.
He's the best. Absolutely.
And when he refers, he will say, I'm referring the best.
Best.
So it is from my point of view, he's the best. Right? And in my point of view, he's India's best. Why? Because he's healed me. She has healed me.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
So, as you say, and especially your field, you could have 100 of good cooks. But the fact is, you like somebody's food, you like somebody's food.
If I have to just change and digress a little bit, and I want to really kind of get into the roots. I read a report, I think a newspaper article day before yesterday, that this year there are about 25 lakh, if I'm not mistaken, NEET aspirants. And this number to get into the medicine program, I think overall seats are 250,000, including MBBS, Unani, dentistry, everything. 25 lakh people will be applying, right? I think it was 22.5. By the time the date closes, it will be about 25.
25.
And on the other side, extreme is only 200,000, which includes dentistry, Unani, homeopathy, and MBBS,
Absolutely.
right? Then, when I look at India, the length and breadth of India, and then you get these statistics that for every 100,000 population, there is only one doc available here in India, or it could be 200,000, right? Nobody knows what's the exact.
Well, the statistics today is 0.9 doctors for 1,000 population.
0.9. What should be that measurement?
Ideally, it should be near to 2.
It needs to be 2.
2. So at least double. But mind you, these are inclusive of all doctors. So Unani, homeopaths, Ayurveds, and physicians, and allopathic.
But the 2 includes everyone?
No, the 2 is actually just the allopaths.
Oh, so if you let's say add cumulatively everybody else, it should be about 5 or 7 then.
7. Absolutely.
But we are at 0.9.
0.9.
My point is, we know this. And it's such a progressive country. And education is at the forefront.
It is.
In whichever iteration it is at the forefront. Why aren't we solving this problem for us?
Fortunately, the present dispensation, the government has marked that every district should get one medical college. So that's a good thing. That's a very nice development.
The district, I'll just, so sorry to interject. A UP district will have maybe 10 to 15 million population, that particular district, right? And the other district, let's say in the south, may have only 1 million or maybe like 250,000. That's about it, right? How does this happen?
But it's a step forward, at least because right now we are just.
But why can't we take bold steps? We are taking bold steps everywhere. Why can't we take bold steps here?
The lack of facility, infrastructure, and teachers. Most of these colleges which are coming up do not have good enough teachers. Because at the end of the day, we have to realize that it's not just the infrastructure which is important. You need to have good teachers. You need to have attached hospital, a well-functioning hospital. How do you treat surgery to someone if you don't do surgery in that hospital?
True. Absolutely.
And the complete gamut of surgery. You can't be just relying on, I would say, just hernia surgery.
Theorization or whatever.
You can't teach theory.
You just need to do the whole aspect of it. Yeah.
So you need to have that kind of patients coming in. So if you have a good population around that, or draining population into that medical college, then definitely it'd be a good place.
Like how? So I'll give you an example. Take aviation, for example, right? 1990s, we actually liberalized here in India. And at that point in time, whether it was Naresh Goyal at that point in time, I'm sure there were others, the Parvez Damanias, they recognized, and I think they worked very closely with the government to recognize that there were hardly any pilots in India, because there was Indian Airlines and there was Air India, right? And here you had 100 more aircrafts kind of coming in. So there were no pilots in India. So what they did was, for the first 10 years or 5 years or 7 years, a lot of expat pilots came into India. Those expat pilots obviously flew them. And in the process, the Indian student became pilots.
Better.
Right? And it took about 5, 7, 8 years to do that. Even the entire aviation infrastructure at that point in time, like at the Mumbai airport at that point in time, a lot of expats who kind of came were engineers who had built airports around the world, right? But within 3 or 4 years, today you look at Adani's and today you look at GMR and GVK's, and they are building world-class airports.
World-class, the best in the world.
Best in the world today. Maybe this could be one of the solutions, that we get instructors coming in, let's say, from all over the world. India becomes that hub. As much as US is the hub, all our talent has gone there and kind of supporting their economy, right? And maybe people come from all over the world, and the policy recognizes this and say, you know what, we'll have them for the next 10 years. But to your point, by 2040, I'm just putting a number out there, this will be 5 or 7. And for that 5 and 7 to happen, we'll start with one hospital per district, then one hospital in that district. If the population is above 2 million, I do not know what the measurement is, and let's say it could be 2 hospitals and 3 hospitals. But there is this definite goal and an agenda. Unless we don't have that, I'll be talking, you'll be talking, you'll be attending conferences, and India's population is, I would say, is aging, and is aging gracefully right now, and we are living longer.
We are living longer. In fact, by 2050, they say that around 21% of the people will be in older age group.
Yeah.
So right now we are at fat bottom. So lots of young generation.
Yeah.
But our growth rate is slowing down.
Yeah.
So
do you think the suggestion which I have, something like this could, I'm not saying, but something like this would work?
it should. It ideally should.
Yeah.
The only two minus points
100.
against it is one, we need to get our public health into the villages. That's where our major problem is.
Yeah.
70% of all hospital beds in India are concentrated in cities. Only 30% in
And
villages.
hence you have the migration coming
Yeah.
into.
So that's why a purpose for getting good treatment, you need to come into the.
But is
cities.
this the same problem in the US? Is it the same problem, let's say, in the UK?
Yes, to a large extent, but in US, the whole population concentrated in cities. Very few will live in villages. In UK, everything is so
In
close by.
our cases, of course, it's a large population.
Large population,
Yeah.
bigger areas of land.
Agrarian economy,
Yes.
they're there.
And so that is one part. Two, healthcare, the government spending is very less. We're trying our best. So from practically 1% of the complete GDP, which was there maybe 5 years back or 10 years back, we have come to 1.5% today. Now 1.5% is too less.
Yeah.
Today.
So
2.1 now.
1.5% of, let's say, 4. And when India becomes, let's say, 10 trillion in, let's say, 10 or 15 years, right? It could be in 1.5% of 10. And that itself is a quantum
quantity. But
4x, 5x jump.
But for our population, that is too less.
Yeah.
The developed economy today, most of the world, is around 9 to 10% of their GDP is spent on health.
Yeah.
In India, this year, they have actually increased it to 2.1%.
But Ajay, that has its own problem. So when you go down to the UK and that sector by itself, Canada has a big problem. You're saying you have to line up. So if you have a cold today, hopefully the doctor will prescribe you after a week. Because the entire... So that system also hasn't worked.
That system, because it's a completely socialist system.
Yeah.
Because you're completely managed by government setup. Whereas India has the best of both worlds.
Both worlds.
So we have a very robust system, but government system. But that needs to be improved. Especially if you're going towards villages and small district hospitals, your CSCs, your PSCs, the smaller hospital, I would say your CSCs are your district hospitals or your medical colleges. They need to be strengthened.
Is there any regulation today which says if a doctor is conducting, let's say, 100 surgeries, it could be an orthopedic to be, let's say, a brain surgeon, or in your case, 30% needs to be conducted, let's say, in a rural hospital?
No, there is not.
Do you think something like that would work?
But the problem is
Infrastructure.
Not doing a bypass or a cardiac bypass, or we do peripheral bypasses. Doing it in a smaller setup would mean you need to have an ICU, a CCU which is manned 24 hours, infection control, all the paraphernalia which goes around with angiography, cath labs, bailouts. Now, one thing is making the infrastructure, and then the second part is getting the trained people to work it.
Yeah.
And at what cost? If you are really, really good, it will be very difficult for a very highly trained person. You spent around 20 years training yourself to be a cardiac surgeon or a vascular surgeon. And then you go into a village, do one case a week. You're going to get frustrated and start running towards the cities at some stage.
Yeah, but eventually in the long run, I said, if we really want to get out of this cyclical aspect, some really bold decisions, and it's okay, we won't have the right answers for the 5-7 years, and maybe some of us may suffer because of that, but eventually a whole generation and a whole new India and Bharat will kind of benefit from it.
And I think the Ayushman Bharat scheme was started on this same scheme. 5 lakh guaranteed income, insurance for the family. Now, what was happening in the government hospital today was, and I'm talking about, I go and operate in a government hospital in Jammu, and it's just philanthropy. Though I'm in a private setup in Delhi, but I just go there, help out a colleague, help him operate on free patients. Now, earlier the patient had to pay for the stents, obviously, the hospital.
But now the Ayushman Bharat.
Because of Ayushman Bharat, the cost of the stent is reimbursed.
Yeah.
The cost of the wires, the balloons.
And because it's the scale, the cost of stent by itself, I think, and India is producing these stents now,
Since
right?
now
So the cost itself is
is low,
yeah,
and the patient, each and every patient, because they have an Ayushman card,
yeah,
and the setup in the government setup is
yeah,
absolutely, I would say, the least possible cost.
yeah.
The patient, it's a win-win. There are lot many more complex cases being done in government hospitals today because of Ayushman.
Because of Ayushman.
So that's a good thing.
And even to perhaps the poor and people or the marginalized, they can afford better healthcare, right?
Better healthcare.
Yeah.
And it's giving them a chance to get the best of the treatment,
So right.
which maybe they would never be able to afford us. But we are very happy to go there and help them
Yeah.
out. And I think this is, I like that idea of mandating, or to some extent incentivizing a doctor to go and operate in peripheries.
Yeah.
Just for the philanthropy part of it, just for the
You know,
altruistic part
so
of it.
something, and health is such a prime thing, right? I'm just maybe my audience is, these are just ideas which are coming up, right? You know, you have 100 large cap companies, 200, I think 101 to 250 is mid cap, 251 to 500 is small cap, and then there's micro cap after that. And you know, the 100 and the mid cap, and you say, you know, 2% of your CSR, right? Which by law they have to,
By the law,
right? Maybe a portion of that, maybe these large houses fund colleges and institutions. Part of that in every district becomes mandated, because if we have a healthy India, whether it's the youth,
absolutely.
we speak about these demographic dividends in the next 30 years. If you have the healthy 20 to 40-year-olds, and we take care of our old, that's where I think it will be truly Swasth India, Khush India.
Absolutely, I 100% agree.
You know,
because unless you have a healthy society, you can't progress.
Absolutely.
And a lot of this is to do with prevention.
Yeah.
I think major part of the CSR should go actually into prevention of diseases.
You're so right. Absolutely.
Smoking, obesity, increasing exercise, reducing stress, healthy eating. Now, millets has come back. Now, who would have imagined the India going crazy about millets just 4 years back, and today everybody's
But pre-independence, I've heard that we were a millet country.
Millet country.
Yeah. I think it's only in the Green Revolution, right? We meandered in a different
wheat
direction.
And potatoes and all those things. But the fact is, I'll go to a villages. My grandfather used to always have millets.
Yeah.
Hamesha bajra, jawar,
absolutely.
And this is what we used to eat. And this is what, if I go back and ask them, get me something made of that.
Ajay, 2.5 years ago, I changed to millets, right? Obviously sensitized by the millet revolution which is happening in the country. Constitutionally, I have changed.
I changed. Same
you know, the lethargy is not there. I would say the tendency, that bloating for age, my age, right? That's not there. I feel more energized. I'm fuller by eating a bajra roti.
Bajra roti.
You know, then let's say a wheat roti.
Wheat roti. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or at least most of us are now more sensitized to having more hybrid grains rather than just wheat grains anymore. And it's making a difference to our health.
Our hearts went out to all those people who lost their lives during the COVID, right? And God knows what those numbers are.
Absolutely.
All of them are in our prayers. They were our brothers and sisters. But what came out of it also was, of course, this entire health aspect. I think there's a health revolution which happened literally after COVID. That
Absolutely.
The importance of prevention, importance of right eating. एक अलग बात है कि वो 700-800 million जो हमारे farmers है, marginalized है, but उनकी immunity मेरे हिसाब से तो वैसे ही बहुत strong है.
That's why they survived better
than us. The fact is, they are in village, and with that mitti, I think it's lovely. I think, and the water that they drink, and the air that they breathe, and whatever they're eating, I think they're far more, I would say, physically stronger than us. But then I read reports that India is the diabetic capital of the world. What's really happening here? Because it's contradicting, crazy stuff. What are we doing wrong?
I think two things. One, and this is world over. World over, diabetes it's an epidemic today. And
And kills
unfortunately,
more people than everything
everything else combined, probably, I would put it that way. And the diabetes, the cancer, I would say stress, a lot of lifestyle diseases which have come in. I think all of them is related to our food now and exercise.
and self-inflicted.
And most of them are self-inflicted. Just because we don't care, or just that we don't think about it. Now, one is exercise. We have stopped exercising as a society. Though post-COVID, as you rightly said, we have become more conscious about it. But we are the obese capital of the world. Every third person is now classified as obese in India. And this was not there earlier. We used to work hard, we used to play hard, we used to eat the right food.
Because we were outdoors.
We were always outdoors.
We didn't have the phone, right?
We don't have the phone.
We didn't have the TV at that point.
At that point, we had playgrounds, we had friends who we were not seeing on phone or listening to on phone. We were interacting with them and playing with them in the fields. Our kids rarely go to fields today. They don't have playgrounds. One, or they are all on video games or on their phones. That is one. Two, second is sugar.
Yeah.
I think processed food and sugar is what is killing us.
True.
And the earlier we realize that, the better we become.
And it's a city-centric, because I'm assuming processed food, only a certain section of Indian society can eat that, right?
Unfortunately, even villages now, it's become a challenge. They're more addicted to Cheetos and all those chips, rather than the traditional shakkar pare or good pare or something. They're more interested in having candies.
Very high on sodium.
High on sugar, absolutely processed. So this is something which has changed. And one of the reasons why you have a lot of young girls coming with PCOS
is because of all these
bloating,
hormonal changes which triggers.
Balding, graying, is all because of it. It's all bad food which we are not taking care of.
So I have two follow-up questions to this. To the younger generation, what is it that you'd like to let them know if they had to take care of their health? I'm sure they take more risks. They're saying, you know what, I'll eat all this and then I'll figure it out. What is that long-term impact? And to anyone who's above 40 right now, and I'd like to believe that everyone is conscious, but to the uninitiated people, what is it that we would like to let them know about the food and the exercise habits? What would you like to tell them? These two completely separate set of people. To Agastya, to Chanel on one side, and to us and our peers on the other side.
Starting from our sides, those are the easier ones, because fortunately we're bearing the brunt of it. Our joints have started aching, our hair have started thinning. And I think one of them is start exercising more. And it needs to be a combination of both aerobic and strength training. It's a misconception that you walk for an hour or 30 minutes a day, you're going to be fit.
No.
It is not just walking which is important, it's the strengthening
of the muscles as
well. Because your bones need to be strong.
Because it's degenerating with age.
Yes. The muscles are becoming weaker.
Yeah.
And if your muscles become weaker, your bones take more of the stress and you get early arthritis. So that is one. So exercise more, both strength training as well as it could be a simple set of dumbbells, it could be just body weight exercise.
Or use your own body weight to do that.
Use your own body weight.
Yeah.
Dandbathak and those are simple little things. But
go back to the basics.
Go back to basics. But make sure you do it every day. Two is reducing your stress levels. It's easier said than done. But at the same time, you'll have to have something to reduce the stress. It could be journaling. It could be feeling of gratitude. It could be mindfulness. It could be talking to your friends. I think talking to your friends is supposed to be absolutely healing to your body as well as soul. And highly recommended.
Again, to the 40-year-olds and above 40, let them know what really happens when you take stress. What is happening within the body?
When you take stress, those micro traumas start happening. So you don't see it outside, but your body starts taking that hit. And once that start taking the hits, your cholesterol levels, your hormone levels will start implicating. They will start changing, and those odd pains and aches which you were not bothered about earlier will start hurting you in the night. fl- you start becoming more breathless. That stress will eventually cause you to fatigue out earlier. It will cause you to sort of get irritable, wanting a
And that triggers your organs to perhaps
misfire.
misfire.
You have these lot of young guys who are collapsing in gyms. They are exercising and they suddenly. Now, this was not there 10 years back. This was not there maybe 20 years back.
And this is nothing to do with post-COVID. This is just our lifestyle.
It's lifestyle which has become worsened with COVID-related stress. And mind you, that COVID 2-year period was absolutely stressful for everyone. Nobody knew if they're going to survive that. Nobody knew what's going to happen to them. Though we were thinking more to be more positive or to be more healthy, but we were too stressed out to think about anything.
You know, again, to perhaps people who are middle class, lower middle class in India, for them every day is a battle of survival.
It is,
right?
It is.
Because you don't go out there, you don't work. One thing I know, we came from modest backgrounds. The aspiration level was very high, from our father to us, now from us to our children, and people who are at that level today, right? At our father level, maybe there's the lower middle
Absolutely.
class. They have so much aspiration for their own children, girl, boy, doesn't really matter.
Absolutely.
That poor father and mother are taking that stress,
Yeah.
right? If this message is going to them, what do we tell them? कि काम करो, करते जाओ,
फल की चिंता करो,
अपने आप आ जाएगा,
फल अपने आप,
परसिवियरेंस करो, स्ट्रेस लेने से कोई फायदा नहीं,
स्ट्रेस से उल्टा हार्म हो जाएगा.
And easier said than done, because I have taken a lot of stress myself.
I'll tell you one more thing. Now let's talk about India as a whole versus Western world. And it could be because of the security of the society per se. Once you're secure in your well-being, in your environment,
special social security,
job security versus financial security.
Roti, kapda, makan, medicine hai, or butter.
Then you are generally okay. Now, my patients I've worked in England. So our patients in England were in their 70s, 80s, and today, where in Gangana, most of my patients are in their late 40s, 50s. Now, imagine somebody in 70s, 80s having a disease. They are retired, end of life, or older age. Whereas most of my patients are in their prime. They have to earn for their family, but they're coming to us. They are sick. They have diabetes, they are getting their legs in issue, their survival, their financial everything is in its fix. This is something which has not happened overnight. This is because of a chronic stress intake or poor eating habits, lack of exercise. If you don't take care of your health today, it's going to hit you back very badly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we as a society think when we are young, mujhe kuch nahi hoga. I can bear it. A lot of our young diabetics don't even take medicines. मुझे क्या हो रहा है, मैं तो 300 रहती है मेरी शुगर, तो क्या हो गया, मुझे तो कोई नहीं फील होता.
And to our young bachas, everything, don't take stress. Everything is figure outable. But please don't eat processed food. Please don't eat high sodium, high sugar content food.
And don't smoke. No drugs, no smokes.
Yeah.
This is something which is killing our childhoods. We have lot of young boys and girls who are into smoking, who are into vaping.
मुझे एक चीज समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, इंडिया के लॉज इतने स्ट्रिक्ट है, but literally the weed has become the next buzzword here in India.
It is.
And everybody is kind of doing that. Now, I'm not talking health benefit, this benefit, I don't even know.
No, they know.
But the fact is, I think it all starts with that peer, I would say, you want to fit in.
You want to fit in.
And then it becomes an addiction.
And it starts as an experiment.
Yeah.
And then becomes your lifestyle. And it will be very, very difficult to come out of it.
Did you see during the COVID, because you were treating so many people, right? Both at Gangaram, part of your other practices. And the people who perhaps had the level 3, level 4 respiratory illnesses. And that must have caused everything. Smoking was a large part.
Smoking
and the non-smokers
did very well. Yes. People with other comorbidities like breathing disorders, it could be asthma or smokers. 2 who are diabetic, especially uncontrolled or poorly controlled diabetes. patients who were obese did badly in COVID. The younger, fitter patients usually did better. They got sick, but they got better too.
And even the older patients who were non-diabetic, no blood pressure, non-smokers.
They got, but they all came out of it. Or they mostly
most people kind of came out of it.
Despite being sick, may be on ventilator for a few days, but they eventually recovered and came out. But people with poor diabetic controls, people who were obese or had severe chest problems, very rarely came out.
Yeah, I think as you're right. The smoking, I think that itself is an epidemic here.
It's an epidemic, and unfortunately, people are taking out any and every excuse to have one.
Yeah.
For that matter, even vaping. So they say that it's a
and that's banned incidentally in India.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So it's I would put it this way, that it's a safe, so-called.
So you're so right. Yeah, I think there are a lot of excuses about the fact it has fewer, I don't know what's it called, nicotine or something,
and we
or tar in it.
We're not smoking. There's no smoke there, so there's nothing burning. So it is as bad. It's just that it's how you sell.
Yeah.
So the fact is, the best way is to keep out of it. There's enough pollution in the air. As it is in a bad environment, so take care of your health.
When you look at India today as a medical destination, right? A lot of the Silk Route countries, they come over here for their treatment. Africa is coming over here for treatment. A lot of Middle Eastern people are coming here for treatment, right? When you look at the entire ecosystem of medicine in India, especially allopathy, right? Are we at par with, let's say, the research and innovation which is happening in the US and some developed UN nations?
Yes, we are. In fact, I'll tell you three incidents. And one, we are providing exactly the same care, even better care than some of the Western countries. We may not sound very, I would say, polished because of the hospitals and everything, because we are really taking a lot of patients.
So if you leave the infrastructure aside, the surgery,
the instruments, even the infrastructure, but because we are swamped with patients, it might look crowded to you.
Got it.
The same hospital.
But people are getting cured.
People are getting cured, they're getting better at maybe 1/5 the cost or 1/4 the cost of what is there.
True.
So a classic appendix operation in India would be around $25,000-30,000. In US, it costs $25,000-30,000.
Yeah.
So that's nearly 80 times the cost. A cardiac bypass would be 1 crore rupees. In India, it is 3 lakh, 4 lakhs. So you can imagine that.
And our doctors would do a far better job.
Job in a much more empathetic manner. And as you were talking about UK, Canada, the healthcare system, you got a waiting period of 1 month to anywhere between 6 months for an MRI.
For an MRI.
For an MRI knee, if you go to a doctor today and he prescribe you, it will probably get an appointment in 6 months. In India, you show the doctor in the morning, you get an MRI in the afternoon, and you show the report by evening.
So right.
You can't walk into a vascular surgeon's office in the US or most of the Western countries. It will require you at least 45 days before you get an appointment. Here, you call me, my secretary, in the morning, you will get an appointment by evening.
Despite all the odds that we face, look at the advancements that we do.
We are more empathetic. We are more available.
Yeah.
My phone number is there with most of my patients, and they are free to call me for any emergencies. In US and UK, you can't even think about getting a doctor's phone number.
True.
The cost is less. We're giving better care with the same instruments and the same stents being used everywhere.
And when you're looking at medicines per se, right? Is India making its own formulas today?
I think we are trying to get there, but we are not there as yet. We are developing new stents, we are developing new medicines, but the research still is a long way off. I think this is one area which I think the government and the people are rising up to. We were there for the vaccines, as you could see, and we were the vaccine makers for the whole world. But for certain group of medicines, the research is going on, but it's a very time-consuming and a very, I would say, cost.
And that way,
intensive.
when you look at the advanced market like a US, a lot more research is happening out there for I would say prevention of the future today, right?
Prevention,
but again, they are very well endowed as well from their corporate sectors.
Absolutely. And I think this is the reason why India sort of lags behind, because to do research, you need money.
You need a lot of money.
And for India to get that kind of money and that kind of infrastructure and the resources, it becomes a problem.
And I guess, let's say, more India becomes that destination for medical tourism, not tourism, sorry, but a destination to cure people, let's say, from all over the world. More people coming in, more dollars coming in. Hospitals would perhaps have more money to kind of spend on research. And maybe there could be a mechanism built that part of that CSR must get into healthcare on one side and education on the other side.
Education on the other side, and the research part of it.
And the research part on the third side.
So I think this is what is, I think, should be the stress of the coming years.
But and when you look at, let's say, the COVID again, we were the vaccine makers for the world, right? At the end of the day, we solved 1.4 billion people, and maybe I'm assuming another 1.4 billion vials were exported outside. How did we manage that research so quickly, right? And through Serum Institute and maybe so many others were there. Or is it that something is happening in the background, and in the next 5-7 years, you will find India being at par with research?
The government is very keen for it. So Atmanirbhar Bharat, so a lot of our industry support is getting there, that make your own stents, may do your own research. A lot of it is made in India. So a lot of other things which are for being imported we are trying to make it in India, the APIs, the formulations.
The APIs, correct. Yeah.
So a lot of work is going on, and we will see that those benefits where we can reduce the cost, we can improve the supply chains. But at the same time, we have to realize that new research molecules will require at least have a lag period of 10 to 15 years.
True.
And maybe after 10 years, you find that molecule was not good enough. And you go back to your drawing book and recalibrate the molecule and then go through the whole research again.
Are Indian doctors researching for, let's say, those foreign pharma companies here in India? Like how you have global capability centers today in India, right? They are doing the entire, I was reading some data, they are researching and analyzing all the oil production in the world, right? And Indian analysts are kind of doing that. So eventually, at the end of 2, 3, 4 years, we will have our own intelligence in terms of how it's done. So are we doing it for them?
We are manufacturing for them.
We are manufacturing for them. But the formulas are theirs.
Formulas is theirs, and we are manufacturing it for them. So we are practically the pharmaceutical capital of the world. So we are manufacturing most of the drugs for most of the companies in India today. Wow. So Lupin or Dr. Reddy's. So you give us a formula and we'll make it for you.
So it's just a matter of if research also happens in India, we are research and manufacturers.
So, but the research part is still lagging. And I think this is something which we would love to see grow with time. And we are hoping that with new companies coming in, the new company, the bigger companies or the
but in your fraternity, is this a topic of contention?
Yes, it is.
Yeah?
Yes, it is. Yeah. We would love to see some Indian companies make good stents, better stents.
Made in India for the world now.
Made in India for the world. So there are some companies which are actually the major supplier to Europe. So the major cardiac stents being used in most of Southern Europe is all Indian stents.
And tell me, the research which is happening outside of India, I love to believe there are Indian doctors who are again dominating that space, right?
Yes, they are.
It's just that ghar wapsi aao or research yahan karo.
But you need to have that kind of infrastructure and the money.
Ho jaye. I think, again, the way this regime, this government taking these bold decisions, India on that ascension, it's economic wealth, I think, right on the top of the agenda, is a problem solver for all these things.
It is. Because we have the economy of scale.
Yeah.
The major factor is because we have economy of scale, we should be able to be there. But the initial cost of making these drugs is a problem, because if Ayushman Bharat is a very restricted amount which is given, and it's not for OPDs or it's just for inpatients. The problem is how much of that person can afford that newer treatments.
Yeah.
So affordability will become an issue. So at some stage, I think we'll have to strike a
Balance
balance.
it out. Yeah.
The cost is.
But as you rightly said, let's say from 4 trillion we go to 10 trillion, and from 1.5 we go to 2. So it's 2% of the GDP of 10 trillion, and that aspect is given to the government hospitals, each district, better healthcare, more doctors, Yeah.
and then the economy of scale kicks
Yeah.
in, and you find that overall cost of the treatment is coming down.
I don't know about the naysayers, Ajay. I have so much of optimism about India
It is
that
it is.
Agastya and Chanel's generation are gonna love it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I really feel I was 20 years old then, because the opportunities, that vibrancy, the energy today in India
Absolutely.
is next level.
Next
my
level.
opinion.
And the kids are happy to experiment. Now, our kids, they're brimming with ideas.
Yeah.
You give them an idea, they're going to find 10 different solutions.
So right.
Instead of us focusing on maybe one or two,
Yeah.
they're going to come up with so many different versions of the same solution. It's mind blowing.
And coming at a time where again India is kind of descending.
And
some, as I said, some naysayers may kind of disagree, but you know what? I always say intent honi chahiye or optimism honi chahiye. If you have these two, everything is figure outable. There's nothing which is not figure outable.
Just have the perseverance to
Absolutely.
and resilience
And
come back and keep doing it. You fail, you come back and do it tomorrow again. You fail again, do it. If you have the perseverance, you will always do it well.
What next for you in the next 10, 15 years? I'm sure you must be thinking about it. Apart from the robotic surgery that you're kind of doing, and you'll get even better at that, both iterative and revolutionary. But what else? What are your personal ambitions?
Truly speaking, I would say at some stage, I'm able to treat a certain section of people. People who come to Gangaram or people who are able to get in touch with me. But I would, at some stage, be more, I would say, global. So people, if we are able to change the lives a lot, many more people. So more into education now.
Yeah.
More into spreading awareness. So we can change the lifestyle of people. We can encourage people to live better, feel better. That is one. Two, we can, and technology is supporting it, fortunately, telemedicine. We got podcasts like yours where we can sort of spread the message more and make people understand that this is something which was preventable. No amputations, basically. The aim should be zero amputations in India.
Yeah.
So, mind you, there's an amputation because of some diabetic problem happening every 30 seconds in the world. So, and our podcast is of 20 minutes. We have had 40 amputations so far already across the world.
And that's primarily because of the high diabetes.
High diabetes. And it's 100% preventable.
And 100% preventable.
So, if we can get to a zero amputation in India, I think that's my goal. That's something which,
so nice.
So that's something we are working for.
Beautiful. So that's your next.
That's our, I would say, my future goal. How we get to that, where we can, one, make people aware that this is preventable. Two, teach our colleagues, friends, other doctors on how do we catch it earlier and treat it earlier. And three, if we do end up at a stage where we can, how do we treat it so that it doesn't happen? And even if it happens, how do we get these people to rehabilitate and get back to their normal life quicker?
I'll digress once more. Behind every successful man or a woman is a beautiful spouse.
It is.
Let's talk about Kanupriya.
She
is a doctor herself.
She's a radiologist and a very good radiologist at that.
A very good radiologist. And a brilliant sense of humor.
A sense of humor. She's very humble. She's strong. She's very sensitive. She keeps me grounded. She completes me.
She completes you, right?
So I think that's the right way. As a surgeon, I'm all over the place.
So right.
But she grounds me.
And she ensures that Agastya gets the right kind of upbringing, because no matter what, despite her also being a doctor, right? She's the primary caregiver to Agastya. Am I right?
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Because I know she's around, I take my liberties at work. It allows me to maybe work longer hours. And I know that's a whole lot to ask from her, but at the same time, I know she loves being with Agastya. And
Again, people will troll me. Please don't troll me. I've always said this. Definition of men is from women.
absolutely agree.
Absolutely. From
Absolutely.
at a mother stage, at a teacher stage, at a wife stage, at a sister relationship, any relationship. They
Daughter or
define who
son,
we are.
they
The supreme sacrifices they do.
do every day, day in,
Right.
day out, and
Yeah.
and in subtle ways,
Yeah.
things that you don't realize.
Hmm.
I had a shoulder procedure a few weeks back, and typical pain, and I used to wake up in the night, and she hears me sort of turning over, and I suddenly find a hand on my shoulder, gently
Yeah.
pressing it, giving me a gentle massage so that I go back to sleep. I didn't ask her to
Yeah.
wake up and give me that. She just knows.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing for me at that moment. And I think this is what grounds me.
And if you are wherever you are today, for the last so many years now, Kanupriya completes you and allows you to become who you are.
Who you are. She encourages me to do
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
She encourages me to experiment.
And for you to go out there and do everything is because you know the fact that Agastya is very, very well taken care of.
Taken care of.
And she's both the mother and father most of the
Absolutely,
time.
most of the times. Absolutely agree.
Am I right?
Absolutely. Agastya is a joy to be with.
Yeah.
He's
He's a
strong.
lovely
He's
boy.
a guy with brilliant ideas. He's
Yeah.
creative, and he's fortunately got a very strong sense of value.
Yeah.
And this is something which I
No,
find.
that comes from strong parents raise strong children.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Kunal. But the fact is, he can be so intuitive at times. He surprises me. And it could be just an incident about his classmates or with his friends in his colony.
Yeah.
And
He's a lovely.
I think I'm thankful to Kanupriya for that,
Yeah.
because she sort of, dads are there to.
So, like in my case, Harsimran takes care of the children. I'm not even a weekend father, right? It's only Sundays. And she's the mom, she wears the pants, she's the father, she's the grandfather. And, if the children, whoever they become, whatever they are, is only because of her.
I agree. So I'm really, really thankful to her and Almighty for making us meet and
So
sort of
look
grow
in the
together.
camera and tell, what would you like to tell Kanupriya?
I love you, of course. And I'm very glad that God made us come together and sort of grow old together.
Yeah, super, super. ये तो seriousness हो गया, right, Ajay? Now I'm going to do a rapid fire question to you.
Okay,
Right? You can't think too much about it,
sure.
right? At best, 1 or 2 sentences.
Okay.
A destination on your travel bucket list with Kanupriya and without Kanupriya and Agastya.
With would be, I would say, with will be definitely Everest Base Camp.
Super, super.
And we love trekking, so hiking, and that's our bucket list. If not higher, but at least.
And if you had to go alone?
Antarctica. She hates cold weather.
You should take the cruise from Argentina.
I believe so.
Or Cape Town, right? And do that cruise. I think it's a 7 or 8 day cruise, and it's apparently brilliant. Brilliant. This is the best time to go. Now,
the summer's
April, correct. One innovation in healthcare you are excited about in your field?
To a large extent, I would say custom-made devices for aortic aneurysm. Now, aortic aneurysm is a very silent killer. Most of the people die without even knowing they had an aneurysm. And when it ruptures or it practically kills you, that's the first time you realize you had one. So, a most famous scientist, Albert Einstein, died of aortic aneurysm rupture, or Pandit Nehru died of aortic aneurysm rupture. Unfortunately, the treatment wasn't great at that stage. But there are new devices which are coming in, which is going to be custom made. So, I'm very excited about it.
How important are these wearable devices?
If you don't become too fanatic about it, they're excellent. So, if you're able to track your health because of them, excellent.
It's a good aid.
It's an aid. But
Yeah.
if somebody becomes a fanatic about it,
Yeah.
that they're only listening to
Yeah.
seeing
Got
this,
it.
seeing this, then it's
Yeah,
an
it
issue.
defeats the purpose.
It defeats the purpose.
The best piece of health advice you have received?
One, exercise, and two was eat better.
Eat better.
So
And are you following that yourself?
eating better, yes.
Yes. Exercise, of course, because of your
Time.
Yeah.
But exercise, one thing I've changed is, and for last many years now, I've stopped taking lifts. So only climb
you
stairs.
you take the stairs.
So I operate on the 7th floor and I always take stairs.
Yeah.
Even if it is 4 times a day, I'll be happy taking stairs.
What is your go-to comfort food?
Comfort food would be, I would say, Golgappas.
Golgappas? I incidentally had it yesterday. Incidentally. One book that has significantly influenced your life. Is there any book out there?
Lots of them. I don't read as many books I should be, but at the same time, I love going through books. I used to churn them every week.
So do you like biographies? Do you like how people through their life they're telling their story and in that process influencing the generation?
Yes, I do. I think those are the books which I like, the self-help books and the biographies. Benjamin Franklin is one which I really love. Then Homo Sapiens.
That was a very intense book. You need a month to read that.
Yeah. And incidentally, I also like the books like that. I like to go them very slowly.
Yeah.
Reread
it. Yeah.
And then go back and read it, and you get another point out of it.
Yeah.
Then digest that point and then come back before you go on to the next page.
You're almost touching 50.
Yes.
Yes. What's the one piece of advice you'd like to give your younger self?
Should have exercised more and taken care of body more.
Yeah.
I would definitely. We neglect our bodies so much over the years. It starts hitting you when you touch 40s.
So right. On Sunday, if at all you have a day off, what is your stress relief activity?
Spending time with Agastya and Kano. Reading a book. Sleeping. I love Sunday sleeps. That's the only day I recharge.
Afternoon.
So that's the only time when I recharge. And going and meeting friends. Yes.
Do you eat out often with the family?
Not much. Not as much as I should.
Do you have a favorite restaurant?
No.
Not really.
No, I keep experimenting.
Got it. One medical myth you wish you could debunk. Okay, doctors arrogant hote hain.
One is
because you're not, right?
Yeah. Please, thank you.
And people are like you, and there are only few exceptions out there.
There are very few exceptions. And the second is doctors are only there to make money. The fact is doctors are there to actually take care of you. Money is a byproduct. And I think this is one advice which was given to me by my bosses, Dr. Ravikant and all my parents as well. Treat your patient. Money is a byproduct. Money will always come. You don't work for money.
Yeah.
Work for healing the patient.
Absolutely.
If you do that, money is a secondary thing.
Yeah, sure, right. It's just a byproduct of your hard work. About it. Yeah.
You'll always get it.
Yeah.
But the day you start running after money, you'll lose your peace. You lose your patience.
And I think all of us should keep that faith as well, right?
And have that faith in yourself.
Yeah. What's one thing most people don't know about you?
That's a good one. That I do get angry in office.
You do?
Yes.
I can't imagine you, Ajay, getting angry. Seriously?
Yes.
Wow.
During cases, I can be really ruthless.
Okay.
But it's only for that.
I got it.
It's only for those moments when I know that somebody could have done better.
Because of the perfectionist that you are. And you only want the best.
And I'm absolutely normal the minute I'm out of the case.
But I would have never imagined that, and I've known you for some time. You've answered this, but if not medicine, which engineering profession?
I would have loved to fly a plane. Wow. So aeronauticals. Anything to do with flying industry.
No. So, at one stage, I wanted to, but just couldn't afford it.
So that is something which I really miss being a fighter pilot.
Being a fighter pilot, pretty much your dad's legacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I nearly went into an NDA. And
so what you can perhaps do, and I'm sure there are these private flying schools, just get a CPL.
That's on my bucket list.
I think that would, if you have that passion, right? India has some amazing flying clubs today. Right? And outside India, but there's in Gondia, there is in Rajasthan, if I'm not mistaken.
There's some Rudrapur ke paas mein.
Hanji, yeah. So maybe whenever you have the time, you could do that.
Yes, that's on my bucket list. At some stage, learn flying and golf.
You like it? Can I tell you something? I tried, but I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it.
Father-in-law is a fabulous player.
Yeah.
It's a very strict discipline, and
I'm more of a cardio and a racket sport person, right? मुझे अब cycle दे दो, भगवा दो road पे, एक golf में से नहीं होता.
अब golf का शौक चढ़ गया.
So nice. Yeah.
So I'm learning from him. He's an excellent teacher. He's a go-getter. So he's going to make sure that I learn something.
I went 5 weekends. I ran away. I said, it requires too much patience. I just don't have the mental turpitude to give 2.5 hours आराम से बात करो तो देखो मुझसे नहीं हुआ.
And I used to be the exact same guy, so I'm more of a footballer and a cyclist and things which I can.
Yeah.
But he taught me. My father-in-law taught me, and he was deputy chief army staff and senior, very very senior lieutenant general. And it is like meditation. In your surgery, if you are operating, you're only focused on what you're doing.
Harmony of the brain, the heart, and the hand.
Yeah. And you're not thinking about anything else. You're not even if there's a phone call or there's something drops, it doesn't bother you because you're only listening. The golf is exactly like that.
And it's just you and the ball.
It's just you and the ball. You keep seeing the ball. It's going to hit a perfect shot. Yeah. The minute your mind wanders on what the patient said, or is it windy, or what that guy is doing, the ball will go here and there. And I think it's the same concentration you play with. And he says, you think like a surgeon, you're going to play excellent golf.
Yeah. Golf, they also say golf chooses you, you don't choose golf. So maybe it chose you, it didn't choose me per se. But, it's an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely a pleasure.
Thank you so much for your time. And to the audience, I hope you got answers to perhaps questions you had in your mind. The young bachas, at the end of the day, if you're talking about high sugar, high sodium content, if you're talking about vaping, it's because we care about you. And of course, to all young men, women above 40 years of age, those are the 2-3 things we need to kind of keep in mind. We need to exercise. We need to do strength training. We need to eat right. Please drink responsibly. Please do not smoke. Please do not vape. Khush raho, mast raho. Everything is figure-outable. Stress mat lo. I am telling that to myself every day, and I'm affirming that to myself also every day. So we will grow and we will discover ourselves through this journey. But once again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening to us. And God bless all.